Hello, everyone. Jesus has risen and the cross is empty. So a question Catholics sometimes get asked is, why do you keep Jesus on the cross? Don't you know he has risen from the dead? And the reason why we get asked this question is because our churches all have crucifixes, usually displayed prominently behind the altar for all the congregation to see. Catholics and other Christians also have the image of the crucified Jesus on the crosses we wear, as well attached to the beads we use to pray the rosary. And just so it's clear for everyone, a cross with the image of the crucified Jesus on it is referred to as a crucifix, while a cross without the figure of Jesus on it is simply referred to as a cross. Now back to the question at hand. In 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 22 to 23, St. Paul states, "For Jews demand signs and Greeks seek wisdom. We preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to Jews and folly to Gentiles." The reason why this was a stumbling block for some Jews was because crucifixion was connected with the curse of God, as described in chapter 21 of Deuteronomy. But St. Paul addresses this apparent stumbling block in Galatians chapter 3, verse 13, where he states that Christ endured the curse of death so that both Israel and the Gentiles could be blessed with new life. So St. Paul, after stating they preach Christ crucified, then goes on to say in the very next verse of 1 Corinthians chapter 1, "But to those who are called, both Jews and Gentiles, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God." So for many Christians, those who have been called, the image of Christ crucified on the cross is a reminder of both God's wisdom and the power of his saving acts, something we should never forget. Now, we also keep the image of Jesus on the cross to remind us of our sins, because truth be told, it's our sins that put Christ on that cross in the first place, and that's something we also should never forget. Finally, the image of Christ on the cross is also a reminder of God's great love for us, a love so great that he was willing to sacrifice his beloved Son in such an excruciating manner for the forgiveness of our sins, so that we might have the chance to spend all eternity with him in heaven. There truly is no greater love than this. And to be totally honest with you, an empty cross is just that, an empty cross. Those who were crucified with Jesus, and all those throughout history who suffered the same agonizing death, also left behind an empty cross. There is no power in it. The power is in the empty tomb. Because if Jesus did not rise from the dead, Christianity would be meaningless. In fact, it would not even exist. But he did, which is why we walk by faith and not by sight. So there it is. This is why we keep the image of Jesus on the cross. And hopefully, anyone who was asked this question before now has a better understanding as to why we do. As always, thank you all for listening. Take care, and God bless.